He had just closed the biggest deal of his career. After 16 hours of meetings, negotiations, and signatures worth millions, all he wanted was silence. Instead, when he walked into his mansion, he heard laughter. Not the soft, controlled laughter of guests, but wild, carefree, floor-shaking laughter. And when he turned the corner, still in his $1,000 suit, he froze. His 8-year-old daughter, his perfectly groomed, private school-educated, piano-playing daughter, was sitting on the marble floor. Next to her was the maid's son. They were building a cardboard castle together. Barefoot. Covered in glitter. And in that single moment, the millionaire felt something he hadn't felt in years. Not anger. Not embarrassment. But something far more uncomfortable. Fear. Because what he was about to do next would either protect his status or change his heart forever. And by the end of this story, you may question what success really means. Armin Qureshi believed in order. He believed in discipline, in achievement, in reputation. He built his fortune from nothing. Born in a one-room house with a leaking roof, he had promised himself that his children would never struggle the way he did. Now, at 42, he owned 3 companies, lived in a gated estate, and drove cars he once only saw in magazines. Everything in his life had structure. His mornings began at 5 a.m. His calendar was booked weeks in advance. His daughter, Alina, had violin lessons, coding classes, and etiquette coaching. He loved her deeply. But his love looked like preparation for greatness, not play. That evening, he entered his home expecting quiet sophistication. Instead, he heard roaring laughter echoing from the living room. When he stepped inside, he saw something that unsettled him. Alina was on the floor, her hair messy, her designer dress wrinkled. In front of her was a cardboard box castle decorated with markers and tape. Across from her sat a boy in simple clothes, slightly oversized shirt, worn-out sandals. It was Samir, the son of Mira, their housemaid. Samir rarely came inside. He usually waited in the small staff quarters after school until his mother finished work. But today, he was here. In the living room. On the imported Italian rug. Papa. Alina beamed when she saw him. Look. We built a kingdom. Samir stood up immediately, eyes lowered. Sir. I'm sorry. Armin felt heat rise in his chest. Mira rushed from the kitchen, panicked. Sir, I told them not to play here. I was cleaning upstairs. Armin raised his hand, silencing her. His mind wasn't angry because of the mess. It was racing with something else. What will people think? What if guests saw this? Is this appropriate? Is this crossing boundaries? He looked at his daughter, glowing with happiness he hadn't seen in months. When did this start? He asked calmly. Alina smiled. Samir helps me with math sometimes. He's really smart. Today we finished homework early, so we built this. Samir quickly added, I can leave, sir. Armin studied the boy for the first time. There was no arrogance. No disrespect. Just nervous dignity. Go to the quarters, Armin said quietly. Samir nodded and walked away. Alina's smile faded. Papa, did we do something wrong? That question stayed in his mind long after dinner. Later that night, he reviewed financial projections on his laptop. The numbers were perfect. Profits rising. Investments stable. Future secured. Yet his mind replayed the image of his daughter laughing on the floor. Not during piano practice. Not during a structured activity. But while building something from a cardboard box. Something he would have considered trash. And he couldn't understand why it bothered him so much. The next afternoon, Armin came home earlier than usual. He told himself it was because of a cancelled meeting. But deep down, he wanted to see something. As he entered quietly, he heard voices again. This time softer. He stood outside the living room and listened. Alina was reading aloud. She stumbled on a word. Samir gently corrected her. Then she said, when I grow up, I want to be kind. Like you. Armin's chest tightened. Kind. She didn't say powerful. She didn't say rich. Kind. He stepped inside. Both children looked up. Instead of scolding, Armin did something unexpected. He sat down. On the floor. The marble was cold through his trousers. "What are we building today?" he asked. The children stared, stunned. "A rocket," Samir whispered. Armin noticed the careful way Samir held the markers. The precision. The creativity. The intelligence in his eyes. "Where do you go to school?" Armin asked. "Government school, sir." "Do you like studying?" Samir nodded eagerly. "Yes, sir. I want to be an engineer." Engineer. Armin felt something break inside him. He saw himself at that age. Dreaming big in a house that smelled of damp walls and poverty. But unlike Samir, he had one teacher who pushed him forward. What if Samir didn't get that chance? That evening, Armin called Mira into his study. She stood nervously, assuming a complaint. Instead, Armin said quietly, "Why didn't you tell me your son is brilliant?" Tears filled her eyes. "Sir, we don't ask for favors." "I'm not offering a favor," he replied. "I'm offering an opportunity." Within weeks, Samir was enrolled in one of the best private schools in the city, fully sponsored. But that wasn't the biggest change. The biggest change happened at home. Armin began coming home earlier. He canceled unnecessary meetings. He replaced some piano lessons with playtime. He learned that cardboard castles can hold more joy than glass chandeliers. One evening, he found Alina and Samir sitting together, drawing their future city. In that city, there were no servant quarters. No separate entrances. No invisible lines. Just people. Living. Building. Laughing. Alina looked up at her father and said something he would never forget. "Papa, when we grow up, can we build a world where everyone plays together?" Armin swallowed hard. All his life, he built walls to protect his family from struggle. But he realized he had also built walls around their hearts. And it took two children on a marble floor to tear them down. Years later, when Samir stood on a stage receiving a National Engineering Award, he thanked two people. His mother. And the men who once told him to go back to the quarters. Because sometimes, the greatest transformations begin with discomfort. Sometimes, success isn't measured by how high you rise, but by how many you lift with you. And sometimes, the richest lesson a millionaire can learn comes from a cardboard castle. So ask yourself, if you came home today and saw your child playing with someone society labels lesser, would you protect your image? Or would you protect their innocence? Because children don't see status. They see friendship. And maybe, just maybe, they're the ones teaching us what real wealth truly is.